Welcome to another episode of the Hospitality Mentor Podcast. And today, I'm very excited. I've got my friend, Cole Boucher here, founder and president of Essential Hospitality. Cole, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve. How you doing today?
We're doing awesome, and even better that we get to learn about all the things that you've got going on. And I want to start this out the same way we always do. We always ask, Cole, what was your first job in hospitality?
My first job in hospitality, it really started at 13 years old when my family had me work on the beach for Boucher Brothers. They started a company about 30 years ago. When I was around 13 years old, it was still in the beginning process of the company. And first day, I'll never forget, my father, Michael, took me out to the Diplomat in Hollywood. And he threw me out on the beach and said, I don't want you talking to any guests. I don't want you making any tips today. And for the next month, you're going to be picking up trash and raking the beach and doing the learning processes of opening and closing the beach. And that really, at such a young age, that really opened my eyes of not even starting to talking to the guests, but really understanding what attention to detail looks like. So I thought that was a very interesting way of starting out. So my first position ever at 13 was a beach attendant.
Now, was that like a couple hours or were you out there the whole day? Because I've had
I
to
would do
do
full
and work
shifts.
out on the beach, and that is a hard job to have.
Yeah, I would do full shifts. We would start at around 7 a.m., but I would get there around 6:30 to open up the office, get the umbrellas, get the chairs out of the bins, and start setting up that beach. And Steve, turtle season it's a pain in the butt, and you got to make sure the beach is clean and the turtle eggs are all good before you start even set up. And if you've worked out there on the beach, that a lot of people don't know, but that beach gets set up and broken down every day. So if you look at it at night, there's no beach chairs, but then when you wake up in the morning, there's a beautiful setup waiting for our guests.
Yep, I learned the hard way because I always had your company, Boucher Brothers, was always behind these hotels I worked at on my beach, and
Mhm.
there was only one that it was not at when I worked there, and it was the hardest. I had to be out there a couple times recently, like in 2018, 2019, helping put out chairs because everyone called out, and so I was just
Yeah,
like, "Never will I ever work again without the Boucher Brothers on the beach."
yeah, it's definitely it's one of the most impactful jobs that you could have in the industry because it really opens up your eyes to how much physical time you can spend with the guest. And I know that you've held many positions throughout hospitality in the service industry, and I always like to say it like you go to concierge or you go to front desk or housekeeping or restaurants, you're spending anywhere from 10, 15, 20 minutes or an hour with the guest. But when you're working outside in recreation, you're with that guest for 8 to 12 hours, depending on how much time they want to spend with you. And you got to be pretty consistent with that guest. So it's a
That is
different
true.
level of hospitality. You understand it.
Yeah, and that's where you make the best connections. The best connections I ever had with anyone was on those pool decks
Oh,
and
yeah,
beaches on Miami
absolutely.
Beach. But so you're doing that.
Absolutely.
You do that all the way through high school? Is that something you did the entire way?
Yeah, I think that at a very young age, my family instilled in me that how important it is to work and understand business and making your own money. I always loved that growing up. I had friends that were fortunate enough to afford nice things, and I was myself and my family. We were always comfortable, and I always had everything that I wanted or needed at the time. But it was really cool to have some extra cash on me for the weekends, going to the movies with my friends or going to the mall. I get to buy a pair of shoes. Up until 13, working as a beach or at 13, working as a beach attendant, I got to save up some money by the age of 16 to help buy my first car, which I thought was very impactful at that age. So it was, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely an impactful thing to start making money at such a young age.
Those are some of my favorite tips that I got when I was 17, 18,
Oh, the
running around the pool
best,
deck. It was all
the
cash tips
best.
everywhere.
Yeah,
So as
exactly.
you start doing that, you're doing it. You're with it's a family business. And for those of you that don't know, pause this if you're not driving. Just go look at the Boucher brothers and what they've built, so you can see where Cole has been running around and doing most of his life. So, do you get tired of doing that at any point during high school? Because I'm sure it's just like, oh, come on, Dad. Like, I want to go out and do this with my friends, and you're making me work on the beach. Or were you have the freedom to pick and choose when to go?
I wouldn't say I was the perfect employee by any means, Steve, but I definitely I was young. I would give pushback at times. However, my father and the brothers, they are all about mentality and consistency and about good partnership. So they really instilled that in me in a young age. And I was actually able to hop around to different properties, which I loved. But like I mentioned, my first spot was the Diplomat, and then I moved to the Delano, and then the Lowe's, and the Ritz Carlton, the Soho, and the One Hotel, and the Fontainebleau. I worked at every hotel on Miami Beach, and it really gave me a perspective about culture and how different hotels operate. And to this day, I'm so thankful for that experience because everything's about perspective and seeing the way that you serve a guest at an example like the Four Seasons versus a guest at the Fontainebleau. There's always a level of respect there. The level of service and hospitality is just so different, right?
Mhm.
Fontainebleau, you'll have thousands of people on your pool deck at one time, and the Four Seasons is chill and upscale, and you have to be able to deliver a certain level of service. But I was able to hop around those hotels and fulfill different positions, which was great. I went from a beach attendant to a server to working within the water sports department at Boucher Brothers, which was really great. I get to ride jet skis all day
Yeah.
and parasail, and then working my way up to managing, and then being able to be a director of multiple properties and riding on the golf cart and checking in on the different management, and then working my way into group events, which is an amazing part of Boucher Brothers is their group events team. If you have a corporate event and you want to get out to the beach, definitely Boucher's got your back. And we've done corporate events for companies like Coca-Cola, and seeing 100 people on the beach at one playing volleyball, and
Yep.
having candlelit dinners on the beach. It's so cool to set up that experience. So
No,
I did a lot of different things.
you get to see a lot coming up through high school, and I think it's one of the best. Like,
Absolutely.
I learned so much being out there. So did you know this is what I wanna do? I'm gonna be in hospitality, or was like, "All right, this was a great time growing up, and now I'm gonna go study something else when I go to the State University."
Yes, I knew that I wanted to work in Boucher Brothers since I was 9 years old. I would go. It's so funny, I would actually there was, like, biweekly, which is when I look back at it, it probably wasn't the best decision by my family, but, like, biweekly, I would miss 1 day of school, and I would just spend the whole day on the beach with my dad and with the brothers, and going to lunch, going to meetings, and being able to sit in and understand how they did business. It was helpful, but looking back, maybe we should have focused on my education a little bit more. But it was definitely when I went to school at Florida State, I had a lot of fun. I was with a lot of great people, great friends, met many friends that I'm still close with to this day. But by my junior year, I was like, I need to get back home. I need to start working. I actually left school, to believe it or not. So I didn't graduate from Florida State. I left school and I started my company, which is a funny story. I'd love to tell it if you would allow me to.
Yeah, I wanna hear about this. I'm
Um,
gonna rewind backwards. Before you do that, I wanna rewind. So
yeah,
you're at Florida
yeah.
State. Did you do Greek life, or were you doing things on your own when you were there?
I definitely did Greek life. Part of a few organizations right there because Greek life was starting to die down at Florida State, and I ended up joining a fraternity with my friends called AEPI, which is a great fraternity. They ended up getting kicked off campus, and we actually started our own little fraternity that was underground. But yeah, we definitely had parties. We definitely had a good time, and it was so funny because
So is
I looked at my
Potbelly's still the place that people go to? Is it still Potbelly's
Pods,
and
yeah,
Baja's? Was it still all
yeah,
there? Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Those are great establishments, very, very great places. You can have it's so funny, you can have $100 in Tallahassee, and it'll last you 3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially if you're going to those places for penny beers and whatever else
yeah,
is.
exactly,
But
exactly.
anyhow, I
No, it was
cut
a
you
great
off
time.
as you're getting started. So you were there, and I understand. I've seen it because I was in Greek life too, and
Yeah,
you can get very social, and that becomes the part that is most important. And as long as
yeah,
you try to maintain your grades, it's good. That's where I was at. Just keep my scholarship, make sure I had fun,
yeah,
and met as many
yeah.
cool people as possible.
I wish I could relate. I definitely didn't have a scholarship, but I was very excited to be there, and I focused a lot on my social life, and everyone has a role within their fraternity, and my role was house managing. So I would pay
Like
rent
running
every
a
month. Yeah, exactly. We had almost 100 brothers, big school, so 100 brothers in the fraternity, and making sure that the lease is correct, that everyone's room and their roommates, and when we throw a party, putting that money together and creating an experience, right? And I felt like I was really good at that, taking the lead on that and doing that on behalf of the brothers. And it came to a point where I was starting to get so frustrated with the process, or oh, this brother's doing this, and this brother's not paying, and this brother got into a fight, and now they can't live together. And I was so frustrated, and my dad might kill me for telling this story because it's hilarious. But I would call him and I would talk about my frustrations with Greek life. And at one point he was like, Cole, this doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really matter.
Fake world.
And then he goes, yeah. And he goes, are you making any money doing this? I said, absolutely not. I'm not making any money. If anything, I was losing money at that point.
Mm.
And he goes, yeah, let me know when you want to do something really impactful. And then I'll listen and I'll help you out. And
Wow.
I left college the next week. I left school. That was probably the strongest piece of advice he's ever given to me. Obviously, there was more to that conversation than just that, but
Yep.
the impact of something that I felt at the point in my life was so serious and I was so engulfed with. And then saying, hey, listen, you obviously have a niche for this, right? Managing and organizing and controlling. Why don't you do something with it, Cole? And that to me was loud and clear. And I was gone a week later and I settled in at home and I started my company, Essential Hospitality.
So how does that happen? Because for a lot of people, they have this
Yeah.
idea. I've got this idea. I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to make this happen, but it just stays an idea, right? So you say, all right, I'm going to
Yeah.
create a company. You've got, for a lot of people, like, he just got lucky and started, but you've been working since you were 13, right? So you've
Yeah.
had a decade of working out on the beach in every single position and knowing every single hotel. But how does that happen? Because it's a big step to start saying, all right, I'm going to own a company and then figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that initially the thought process was, I love hospitality so much. Uh, Let me try to learn a different aspect of what this industry is. And that's what I did. I came up with this concept of a mobile concierge, right? Taking the individuals from behind the desk and spreading them out throughout the hotel. This really catered towards a bigger hotel like the Fontainebleau, the One, the Lowe's, W, places with multiple food and beverage outlets, amenities, where we can sell the house to the guest and keep them contained within the house. And at the time, I thought that was a really good idea. And I went to a few properties. I'd be lying to say it was all me by myself. It wasn't. I had the backing of Boucher and their HR program and their legal team
Yeah.
and the directors and the president, everyone part of Boucher and running ideas. Hey, should I do this? Should I do that? How do I do this? And the brothers as well were a big help. But really, when it came time to pitching the company, I remember pitching to Milton at the One Hotel. That was the first person I ever pitched to. He was the president of the One Hotel. And this was like prior to COVID being very serious in the US. It was all the way in China and no one
Yep.
really knew what was going to happen with that. So I'm pitching obviously the idea. And I remember when Milton got on and he was like, okay, Cole, the floor is yours. Please tell us what you have to offer us. I completely blacked out. I don't remember a word I said in that first meeting. I went to a few different places and pitched my idea. And then finally I went to the Fontainebleau where I was like, wow, this idea, or this better work out for me, or I don't really know what I'm going to do at this point. I've gotten so many no's. And Mr. Phil Goldfarb, who's the president and COO of Fontainebleau Development, was sitting there and I pitched him my idea and he said, I love it. Let's try it out. You got a month to show us that this works. And if it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. But you have a month to show us that you can bring something to Fontainebleau.
With
I
mobile
was
concierge, right? So
with
you got
mobile
in.
with mobile concierge, we got in. So then a day later, I get a call from Mr. Goldfarb saying, hey, Cole, it looks like we're not going to be able to honor this. COVID is in the US. It was literally the next day. COVID's in the US. We're laying off a bunch of people. It wouldn't be fair to hire a whole new team and
Right.
also have to lay off people. And so I said, are you still keeping the hotel open? And he said, absolutely. We still have work going on as of now. So I said, okay, great. Said, please give me the next hour and let me get back to you. I might have something interesting. And I came back to him an hour later and I said, you need someone to check temperatures and you need someone to give wristbands showing that those temperatures were taken. And you also need someone to stand there and make sure everyone's wearing their mask. And he said, absolutely. You start next week, hire a team. So the
Now, how did
first
you come up
year of
with
my
that? You give an hour, you calling like your family, friends, or are you just like, all right, throwing
yeah,
something
I was
against the
just
wall to see what happens?
there was also I was watching a lot of news channels. I was keeping up with what was going on with COVID, and it seemed like a lot of people were wearing masks. They were talking about taking people's temperatures when they go to restaurants at that time. So I was like, you know what? There's still going to be people coming in. There's still going to be guests. There's still going to be employees working at the hotel. So we might as well be their first interaction. And we did that for a year. We would call it access control. And it started off with the front lobby, and then it slowly made its way to every checkpoint opening of the hotel. And then it slowly made its way to the outside. And at one point, I grew my company from like one to, obviously me being one to 15 people, which I was so proud of at the time. I wasn't making any money, but I learned a lot. And,
And it's a tough
you
job.
know,
I remember I had to get my teams doing that at the Lowe's My Beach Hotel, and I was getting screamed at every day. Masks are terrible. You're killing the
yeah,
world. Like, and people just wanted to fight. So you guys had one of the hardest jobs to start with.
yeah, it was definitely challenging, but those
So you,
little interactions were great.
yeah. So you had your 15. You're running around the iconic Fontainebleau Hotel, which is still one of my favorites. How does this
Yes.
start to evolve into what you got going on now?
So, like I said, we were about a year in, and then I remember it was like February. It's coming up, my anniversary for the pool. I think it was like around February 20th, and the travel ban was lifted, and everyone had their stimulus check, and they're ready to come to Miami. So I remember getting a call from Mr. Goldfarb, who I adore completely. I wouldn't be where I am right now without him, partially. But he calls me, he says, "Hey, listen, I know it's in your blood, it's in your background. I have an opportunity for you. You've done such an amazing job. Everyone loves your team. You have a background in pool and beach, and we need someone to operate our pool." I think we were at like maybe 5 to 10% occupancy. And within 3 days, it was jumping to 100 full house. And so he was like, you have, and this is how the Fontainebleau works, which I actually love, but it's okay, you have a few hours to decide and let me know if you're going to take the opportunity. You would start in 2 days. And I was freaking out because I actually had my cousin's wedding. She was getting married, and I was in the wedding. And I was supposed to go to Jacksonville, which I ended up going to Jacksonville. But I said yes to Mr. Goldfarb. I said, absolutely, I can't can't not take this opportunity. And again, the backing of Boucher is just, it was so powerful. Everyone that I grew up with that were my mentors sprung into action to help me. And I had my 15 team members, and then we probably added 5 more people to that roster from different Boucher properties. And then we had a few managers and directors just come in and serve and fold towels and just create this pool experience. So it was actually funny when I got back. I was like, okay, they took care of that for me, which I was so grateful for. And then when I got back, we probably went about almost a year, 7 months to a year of me managing the pool as a GM, doing payroll, the doing the hiring. So it was like reaching out to client or reaching out to potential employees, interviewing them, onboarding them, putting them on payroll, managing them, and doing that all over again every day for about 7 to 12 months until I finally I had some help. I had some great managers at the time that grew within my company during the temperature checks. But when we got that opportunity, it was literally like, "Hey, do you have food and beverage experience?" And oh yeah, I worked at PF Chang's and this other place. And I was like, "All right, great, you're a server now at the Fontainebleau pool." It was literally like that. We winged it for a long time until we finally were able to understand that pool and what it needed. And I have a great support system now helping out, and we've been part of many different hotels, and I've learned so much just from doing what I've done so far.
No, and I love it. And that's why I want to rewind here because for listeners, they're going to think, all right,
Yeah,
Fontainebleau, they don't run their own pool deck. What's going on over there? But I
yeah,
know that they've always had someone from the outside kind of coming in. And there was a different company running it, more of a staffing company.
yeah,
And so when you came in, it's almost like that. It's like a hybrid because you're not only the GM of this world class pool that's one of the
mhm,
biggest in the world, you're
mhm,
also hiring staff and you're managing them, right? Because you are the person that's responsible for their payroll and doing all these
yeah,
things, right? Am I
mhm,
correct in that? So
absolutely.
you're running a staffing company, which I have experience of doing for 4 years. I had that up to 700 people, and that was like the worst thing ever because I couldn't
It's
actually
tough.
control them when I'm at the hotel. I was just sending them out to hotels. But I
Yeah,
thought it was cool that you get to control them there.
yeah,
So, how did that why is that better that way? Because I think some people are like, "Why would they
yeah.
do it that way versus do it internally?" But you guys are doing a great job, but why is that?
Yeah,
Always
absolutely.
been
I think
curious.
that, yeah, no, it's a great question. I get it asked a lot, and it's actually part of a pitch for these
Yeah.
hotels. Is right off the bat, essential hospitality is very similar to Boucher Brothers, right? We are a representation of whatever hotel we're at. So essentially, we're the chameleons of that hotel. We embody the culture, right? Our team are wearing the uniforms, so essentially, we are the Fontainebleau, and I think that's the biggest pitch. We go in there and right off the bat, when these hotels are hiring employees, they're getting into benefits and salary and pay and all that, and that adds up for the onboarding process. For us, off the bat, we save 15 to 20% on your payroll every year. So
Yep.
when a hotel looks at that, they're like, "Wow, okay." And you manage and you staff it, and I don't have a headache. It's just the best deal for the hotel. But the biggest thing is trust, right? When you hire a partner, when you hire a vendor, and that's what I learned at a very young age through the brothers and my fathers, is trust, right? Is partnership. It's very important to be there for your partners because we are a representation of all the hotels, right? But essential hospitality, and still to this day, like I have a few other properties and that I've worked with, but man, you will never not see me at the Fontainebleau. I am always at the Fountain. That was where I first started. That is where I will die. The Fontainebleau is the Fontainebleau is my life and will always be my life. I was there for a very long time. My father would work the beach, and I was a child playing at the pool, and it was a Hilton. And to be managing and operating that pool today is just it's a dream. So to have a good management team under myself, I have upper management, I have a vice president of finance, Matthew, who handles payroll, who handles the accounting side, who drives incentives and dynamic pricing for our cabanas and beds. And then I have Max Berlowitz, who is my vice president of operations, and he
Another
does an
great guy.
amazing job with. Yeah, he does an amazing job with our culture, and they're both great. They're both great, and to have them understand the vision and understand the importance of partnership, it just drives down to the rest of the team. What are the benefits of essential hospitality? You have a great partner, right? You have and Boucher Brothers, but you have a great partner, you have a great friend, right? And we're going to go in there and create this experience that is on brand with your property. But as well, my favorite part and the reason I love hospitality is make it personal, right? It's not robotic. It's you. And that's whoever we put out there. It's you're seeing them, and that's the most important thing in my eyes about hospitality.
Yeah, and listen, and you're doing a great job out there because I've been to that pool many times with you, and I've been there before and after you've been there. I can see the difference. So great
Thank
job
you.
to you and your team. And I've been to the Four Seasons of Fort Lauderdale where you're also managed that pool deck, which is a whole
Hmm.
different experience, which I love too. And so you would actually walk the walk. But I want to talk
Yeah,
more about it. So you're there. I think for a lot of people, the journey. You get there, you're running this gigantic pool deck. What is it, 29 cabanas, like something like 11 pools, like
yeah.
kids
It's a lot.
area,
Yeah,
thousands of
yeah. It's a lot.
chairs. Did you ever have a moment where you're just like, "What did I do? This is nuts because
Absolutely.
it's stressed out. I gotta cover this payroll all the time. I gotta manage these guest comment cards that are crazy because you started at a
Yeah,
crazy time." Did that happen to you, and how did you handle that?
still happens to me. It's yeah. It's once you work at, and you know this as well because you've had that experience in those properties that are just monsters. Um, but it never gets easier, right? It never gets easier. I always say there's nine bad experiences with a guest that's just they're crushing you, they're negative, they're not enjoying their time, and it reflects poorly on you and your team. And then there's that one guest that's just so appreciative and it just makes it worth everything. Yeah, I've had many of those moments where I want to pull my hair out. You got to just realize that you just got to keep moving forward and you have to trust your gut, right? That's what I've learned at a young age as well, through my mom, through my dad, through the brothers, through my family. Trust your gut, make a decision. That's the most important thing that I've learned, right? You can't sit there and not make a decision. If something's not going the way you want it to go, you either got to go straight, left, never go backwards, right? So that's really important is being able to make decisions. And I think that's made this process a lot easier in managing these properties is like being able to make effective decisions because not only do your partners see it, but your team sees it, right?
Mhm.
That you're a leader that's just continuously making those decisions. That's what's important.
So it's one thing to have one great pool deck. It's another to
Mhm.
start growing. So when do
Yeah.
you decide like, all right, we're going to start growing, we're going to start looking for new places? Is it right away? Because there's certain people that have that mindset like, all right, we got this one, now we're going to get all of them. We're going to get all these great places and iconic places on our belt. Or is it more
Yeah.
calculated? Like we got to choose the right spot as we grow. How did you start deciding?
It's a little bit of both, right? I think being on the younger side and I've never been known by my friends, family, or people I work with to have an ego. I don't believe I have an ego. I'm definitely more of a humble approach. But having the pool the size that the Fontainebleau is, I really felt that I can take on more. So I went into partnership with the Boca Raton, which was a massive property. We
Mm.
helped open their pool club on the Lake Boca side, which I believe it was like a $70 million renovation. We were there day one to help open up that pool. And I got to work for Daniel Hostetler. Awesome guy, great guy. And I really enjoyed working there. I think it was great. We did leave the property after helping open up. We were there for about a year, and then they decided to close down their beach club side for renovations. They did like a partnership with, I forgot which swimsuit brand it was, but they ended up closing on that side. So we did terminate our partnership, which, no ill feelings. I learned a lot from there. But again, that was part of me saying I could take this on. And then my drive from Fontainebleau to Boca every day and
A
trying to
lot.
be in two places at once, it was a lot. It was a lot for me. And I don't look at it as a failed partnership. I look at it as a life lesson, a learning lesson. And I've gotten to partner with the Four Seasons, great partnership. I've gotten to partner with the Icon and Brickell, which I know you have some experience in the Icon and Brickell, right?
Yep.
That's a massive property. And,
It's a sneaky
you
big
know,
hotel pool. I'll tell you that. People don't
yeah,
realize it.
I didn't realize it going in how tough it was going to be, but we're doing a great job there. We have great management, great team, and we're
Is it still
trying
the
to.
same like during the weekdays where it's like pretty quiet and then all of a sudden on the weekends it's 1,800 room hotel, right?
You'd be surprised. The weekdays are pretty busy right now. And we are partnering with the lifestyle director there to bring a DJ, bring events for the residents. We're really trying to personalize the experience for our guests. We have 3, 4 months in there right now, but man, we have a great team there. We have a great team. And it's a wicked property. It's awesome.
I have to send you a picture. I got in big trouble. So I was the GM of restaurants and nightclubs, and I was like, let me just put a DJ down here. I did it 3 Saturdays in a row. Like the first Saturday was just like a nice vibe. Second Saturday it started to grow, and then the third Saturday people had heard there was like a party going on
Yeah.
and exploded, and it was like thousands of people, uncontrolled, no
Yeah.
security. They're like, "Steve, we
Yeah.
may fire you." I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was gonna happen." That was good. So
Yeah,
I'll send you
no,
that
it's a good thing. It's a good thing I had a little background in access
the
control.
Fontainebleau.
Yeah, yeah. So we putting that touch in there, it's great. But I would say to answer your question, man, it's tough to make. You have to make decisions, like I said, but right now, it's calculated, right? It's because I also do some work with Boucher Brothers still. I'm still very much a part of that brand and the company, and my life will be that in the coming years. Essential hospitality will always be part of my life, and I hope to continue to grow it with my team, with Matt and with Max. But Boucher Brothers is going to be part of my is part of my life. Has always been and is my future. Everything is always calculated. So I don't try to overload myself with work, but I try to put myself in many different positions to learn. Always be a student before a teacher.
So it sounds like you're trying to make sure you got the quality over quantity going. Because I've
Yeah,
been in your shoes where I have staff all over the city, and then they're like, "Hey, I had call outs here. I don't think Fontainebleau's got call outs." Right? And I'm
yeah.
sure there's some talks like that. How would you tell people to handle that if they're trying to build something where you got multiple clients and they don't think that they're number one? Because sometimes you are giving all your effort, but sometimes they don't think they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think accountability is really important. And once you understand how to take accountability for your actions, for your team's a representation of you. So if your team isn't doing the right thing, it's you're not doing the right thing. And that's where not having an ego comes into things. You can't, you have to be humble. We work for people always. Even though I started my company and I own my brand, I work for the Fontainebleau. I work for the Icon. Like, they are my bosses. Anything they want, I deliver on. And so being present and being accountable for your team is, don't point the finger. The finger should always be pointed at you because you can always do better.
Yeah, that was always my challenge. As it got so big, I was like aggressively growing. If that
Yeah.
housekeeper didn't show up for their overnight shift, I was the guy getting the call. They didn't know the housekeeper's name, but Steve, you failed me, right?
Yeah. And
And your product is people.
it's a tough people will always let you down. It's just part of it. But if you build this, and you know this, you build this culture around these people,
Yep.
something that they believe in, something that they can rally for, and something that they can grow with, those people will show up. And you know that. That's how
100%.
these hotels keep running, is that culture. It's the most
That
important thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So you're doing great. You've got a great culture that you're building, and you're picking the right hotels. I'm not asking you for like your 5-year plan, but what are you most excited about in like the next 12 to 24 months? What's coming up on your
Wow.
radar?
Hopefully, new partnerships. I'm very excited to discover new partnerships and see where my brand can work. But I'm also really excited to continue to work with Boucher Brothers. And I know a lot of people in Miami and around the world are talking about this Nikki Beach deal with Boucher Brothers and Major Food Group. I'm so excited to work with
Yeah.
Major Food Group. That
Tell us
is,
about that. Tell me about what's going on there.
I would
I know a lot of
say
top
that.
secret, but maybe you can give us a little bit.
Oh, no, I think the story is the lease was over, it went up for bid, we won the bid, and to me, there's so much negativity around that that deal, and I can't think of anyone, and it's biased, of course, because it's my family, but I can't think of anyone who deserves that more than the brothers. They've worked their butts off for 30 plus years, and they've taken care of the city and they've taken care of this beach, and we're going to see what happens on that day one, and what it's going to look like. But we've really built this concept with Major Food Group to be for the city. Like, that's the most exciting part about it. It's for the neighborhood, it's for the city. It's high quality, it's high class, it's exactly what the city needs and what the beach needs, and we're so excited to work with a partner like Major Food Group. We're so excited to continue to work with the city of Miami Beach. And I think that would answer the question. There's a lot of great things to come from this, not only for my family, for Major Food Group, but for this city. It's going to be amazing. It's going to change. It's going to change the definitely the nightlife and the daytime for beachgoers. It's got a little bit of everything for everyone. It's got breakfast, lunch, dinner, a pool where you can hang out for the day, retail shops where you can shop, and you can. It's going to be the only place in Miami where you can have fun and party on a day bed with your friends and have a business meeting 5 feet away from that group who's doing that. So it's going to be a playground for everyone, for families, for friends, and we're so excited to be able to have the opportunity to do this.
Ah, that's awesome. I'm excited because I followed it very closely, and I haven't been to Nikki Beach in years, and I always thought
Yeah,
that place deserved to have something world class there, and you guys are going to help build that. And I
yeah,
just had dinner at Carbone on Saturday, and I just wrote an article about it because they're so good at the service. They're just so good at making you feel welcome. And there's a lot of other, I don't want to say this the wrong way, a lot of other flashy places that
yeah.
people go to, but you don't feel that way. You
No,
don't feel like you're welcome there and that you're made to want to go back,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I think that's what Major Food Group does best is create that experience. And again, the Boucher, same thing. You go to the beach, they create that experience. So I'm very excited for the brothers and for the company to team up with a partner like that and really just showcase what the hometown boys from Miami can do with a major food group component. It's going to be very exciting. I'm excited to learn from that process as well. So that's something else I'm excited for. But I also am part of the Chamber of Commerce in Miami. I sit on the board of governors. So I go to those meetings on a monthly basis, and I'm very excited to continue to learn more about the city, what we can do to help the city. I've been a Miami Beach kid. A lot of the people I grew up around are like, "Oh, I can't wait to move to New York and California." It's like Miami Beach is the
Yeah, where are you
best.
going?
The best. Yeah, it's the best. So I'm excited to continue the next 5 to 8 months to a year. Is just see what else I can do
I love it, man.
within Miami. Thank you.
Sounds so exciting, all the things you got going on. And we're
Yeah.
very similar, born and raised here. We both went to Florida State. Fontainebleau is actually the hotel that my dad represented. He's an attorney that got me into wanting to be in hotels. So we
Yeah.
had a similar path. But if you were, you know, you're just starting off awesome because you are one of these movers and shakers. But if somebody was starting out now, right? And they're like 13, they want to come get into this industry. What advice are you giving somebody when they're like 16, 17, 8 years old.
Wow. I mean, at that time, it's just, you think you know so much as you continue to grow, and you don't know anything, right? And I still tell myself, I don't know anything. I know a little bit more than I knew a few years ago, but I don't know anything. So I would say my best advice would be to practice patience, have some respect for everyone around you, everyone you deal with. And to also, like I said before, trust your gut, trust your judgment, make decisions, right? And if you think that you can do something, don't let anyone around you tell you that you can't do it. I've had multiple people tell me you can't do this, or my grades weren't the best when I was in middle school, high school, college. I think I did pretty well for myself at the age I'm at. Uh, Always stay humble, right? Work hard, stay humble. You'll get everything you want in your life, and you got to love what you do to do it. That's what I would tell someone getting into this industry. If you don't love hospitality, don't do it.
It's true. It's the best advice you can give somebody.
Yeah,
And I can say you definitely stay humble. There's all the opportunity for you to get a big head at the places that you're working at with all the celebrities and friends calling you for access, I'm sure, and
yeah.
all the things that you get to see. But I just want to say, man, I'm just from watching from afar and getting to know you more and more, like I'm proud of what you're creating for our city, and I hope you keep doing it big for us.
Thank you, Steve.
And
Thank you,
so
Steve. You too. You
yeah,
too.
man. We'll be doing some stuff in the future. And I got to give a shout out if I didn't, because he knew we were talking today, to Sean Tarter of Real Time Reservation, because he's the sponsor of this podcast.
That is
And
the best.
so I'm going to give him a shout out. Are you using Real Time Reservation at your pool deck, Cole?
I am absolutely using real-time reservations, and we're working on great deals with them, and we're very excited to continue to be in partnership with them. They're the best. There's no reservation system like them anywhere. They're my first choice for all your cabana and bed needs, plus more to come, right?
There you go. Sean, that
Yeah.
was made just for you, my friend. And Cole, listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are running so many different things. It means a lot that you took some time to spend with us.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon.